Clerk Borba here. Trustee Dorchevitz?
Here.
Trustee Kermy?
Here.
Treasurer Clinton is excused. Supervisor Heisey?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance, Steve Birmingham. Why don't you do the honors?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, approval of the agenda. I need a motion to approve.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, October 26, 2021, and I believe we're going to have some amendments.
Well, yeah, I'll just to let everybody know, State Representative Matt Kolazar cannot make it tonight. They are still in session. And County Commissioner Melissa Daub cannot make it. She is under the weather. So we'll start out with item F3.
We're going to need a vote for the approval of the agenda.
Second.
Okay, so motion's made by Clerk Vorba, seconded by Trustee Monahan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, item D is approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, October 26, 2021.
Motion made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Monahan. Any comments, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Public comment limited to 3 minutes. This will not be your only opportunity. There will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting as well. And limited to 3 minutes. Anybody on anything? Yeah, open topics. Yep,
Yes.
you go up there. Make sure his light is on.
It's on.
Hello, my name is Stephen Birmingham. I'm from Lake Point Subdivision. The open topic that I wanted to discuss was the proposed development off Ann Arbor Road. I read an article about that. And a lot of what was brought up in the article are concerns of mine. Just an overflow of traffic, packing a lot of people into a small area. So I saw there was that in the planning meeting earlier this week, and I wanted to make my voice heard on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, then let's move on to item F3. This is the annual economic development update. Laura Haw is with us tonight, our planner, and also Gary Heitman, who is serving as our economic development coordinator. So they are going to lead the discussion. I might jump in at some point. And as far as questions go, I would encourage questions by the board throughout the discussion, because that might raise other issues. But let's just be mindful of, let's not talk over each other or anything like that. Let's just ask, thought-provoking questions.
Real quick, please, and I
Okay.
apologize. I'd like to thank the tremendous number of tree trimmers, DTE workers. Orange cones are pervasive throughout Lake Point, blocking roads, but providing for lanes for traffic 2 ways. And I have never seen so much work being done with tree trimming and attention to updating equipment at different spots. And I see the president of Lake Point Homeowners Association nodding his head. And it's a wonderful thing. And it is the season. I want to say our deepest thanks.
Okay, thank you. Gary and Laura, the floor is yours.
All right. Let's do it. We're going to do a little Economic Development 101. There was some confusion as to what economic development really was starting last March, and I continue pretty much daily to hear economic development questions that are not really economic development. So in a nutshell, it's a program or group of policies that improve the well-being of Plymouth Township, right? Why is it important to us? Obviously, quality of life, tax revenues, industry diversification. We cannot minimize, we're all automotive, and it's getting bigger and bigger, so if we can diversify automotive, that's even better. Obviously, job creation and retaining businesses is absolutely key, and we have the reputation for doing that, so. This is the importance of economic development. There was some confusion as to community development versus economic development. As you see on the left, economic development includes business expansion, recruiting, keeping businesses here, and developing and redeveloping a workforce. The other side is community development, where everything else is public safety, recreation, volunteers, healthcare, education, and housing. And then in the middle, of course, that's the blending of both, and it's just workforce development, brownfields, and entrepreneurship. And good reputation is actually what's in that middle box as well. This is what the board really, we depend on, you guys to do this, right? This is public policy. This is the important piece about what you guys do. Recognize the assets of Plymouth Township, plan and set the priorities, look at the resources, reduce the costs and risks, and you look at money. And we look at the budgets on a regular basis, and you create a competitive environment. One thing I hear on a weekly basis is communities surrounding us that they don't really care. And oh, well, okay, gee, the business is between two communities. Well, go ahead to the other one then. We're not going to be doing anything. So this is a tremendous reputation we have, and obviously the board is a part of that tremendous reputation. We appreciate that. Incentives and financing tools. We look at tax abatements. It's something that you guys all vote on. It's something that is public and has to be publicized. But each time we look at the goals of the community, payback periods, brownfields, and those kinds of things. This is nothing that, I don't go behind and say, hey, here's extra money for you guys. This board determines who gets what money, and this is another thing that adds to our good reputation. Economic development in practice. You guys have already heard the good news about Rivian. There are 100 new jobs coming in. Well, here's what 100 new jobs gives you. And these are manufacturing jobs. The Rivian jobs are help desk jobs. They're $100,000 help desk jobs. But what does 100 jobs equate? Well, 7 new retail establishments is a key piece. Population increases, school enrollments, retail sales, and we'll get into a little bit farther down. These are the kinds of jobs that are the output of 100 new jobs coming in. Total number of jobs created, one new job creates 1.5 in business services, 1.67 in health services. So just think about one new job coming in here. Obviously, a new construction job creates 3 new jobs. This is very, very key. So we're going to have a lot of new construction jobs coming up, retail trades. So for each new one, our area benefits with 3.27 new jobs. So anybody that says, what does a new job mean? It means 3.7 new jobs, 3.27 new jobs coming in. Business retention, you guys have heard it from me for 5 years. Retention is important. Surveys have shown companies love it when somebody comes and talks to them from the business. You can see the last couple of years haven't been real good for retention. We've done some Zoom retentions. I had one last week that was a very surprising one. The company we went to, and I go with the state and the county pretty much on a regular basis. Company I went to last week had a surprise and said, Gary, last year we had $1 billion in revenue. Because of shortages in the auto, we have $700 million, and we're going to file for bankruptcy. So they filed for bankruptcy, and within a week, they're moving out of Plymouth Township.
And who are
Shiloh Industries.
they? Oh, the stamping company?
Yeah, well, that's part of it, yeah, that's a big piece of what they had. But a chip shortage really hurt them the most. But we've already got somebody getting ready to move into their building.
Where are they at again?
They're on Butcher Drive.
Halyard?
Halyard, yeah,
On Halyard?
almost at Beck, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Challenges and opportunities. Obviously, our 275 Steak and Ale site, we keep going back and forth on that one. The Durr redevelopment, I don't know what we want to talk about. We had somebody till today.
What does UTAC mean?
UTAC is a French acronym. I won't even try it. It's a French company, and they do testing for a variety of automotive electric vehicle components, okay? So they were looking at the Durr building, which I thought was a very aggressive move on their part, because it's an old building with a lot of challenges. And I think once word got back to France, I think they said, I don't know what French is for no siree, but something along those lines. C'est la vie. And they said, find a smaller building. So we are currently working with them. The good news is that they're not leaving. They love Plymouth Township. They're currently in Livonia, and they want to move here. They really enjoy it here. So they would like to look at another building in the 20 to 30,000 square foot with a high ceiling. And that would be, that they could move into in the next 30 to 60 days. So I think we will have I still think we'll be able to site them. We still have some property available for that purpose.
And we were to the point that they had actually had the water tower totally investigated. Everything went through. They looked at everything within the building and actually cleaned it up a lot for whoever is going to move in next.
It's a building, though, that was built in the 1940s for a totally different world, and it's going to be a real economic development challenge for us to try to repurpose that
That
facility.
same carpeting is still in there too, I think.
Yeah, the office building in front is a 1980s time capsule, basically. It's really interesting.
Where's the
So
building again?
Durr, right next to Burroughs.
Burroughs. It's across the street from Lula Ridge, kind of.
So
Okay,
obviously,
so-
the 15 acres south of Locke, we still have that on the corner, the Haggerty and Plymouth Road,
That's a brownfield.
yes.
Yeah.
Available properties on Ann Arbor Road, we keep going back and forth on those. We lost the that wasn't a sub shop, it was gonna be in the Baskin Robbins,
Oh, yeah.
the Philly cheesesteak.
Philly cheese.
And now we're gonna hopefully get carpeting store in there, I think, or a tile floor. Schoolcraft Road parcels, still across the street from,
Wabasto.
yeah, Wabasto on that Schoolcraft side, so.
You mean
there's still-
the scrap yards?
across the street from there, there's
So
like
on the
6 or
north
7
side.
homes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot of old homes, old farmhomes that were cut off back at 275 and M14, and they're all for sale. And
Hoping somebody consolidates the property.
yeah.
Exactly.
16 parcels that are in that group right there. I think they're all owned by the same person, and they're looking for top dollar, so. New investments? Laura?
All right, so good evening, trustees. These new investment numbers that we have for you are from July 1st of 2020 to this month. So it's about a 15-month window. Normally we did the economic development presentations July to July, so it's just a little over a year. But this is similar to the numbers that were presented last year, a little bit more investment at 34 million. And this is strictly for new construction. One thing that we just kind of wanted to mention off the bat is that, communities across, the world are grappling with the effects of COVID. And Plymouth Township has been very lucky to really not have any of the development that's currently underway succumb to those negative effects. And one of the things that the fire department has done to be proactive is to actually go out to the existing businesses, meeting them at their offices and facilities to administer the vaccines. And then the township board has done other, of course, measures to combat COVID for local businesses, such as the outdoor dining resolution.
And the fire department vaccine, it may sound kind of simple. We just go out and do this. The businesses just think the world of Plymouth Township because we did this and their employees did not have to take time off and go someplace and get their vaccines. We brought it right to them. So we had Webasto, we had Bosch, we had Rivian, we had Signet. These are big businesses that absolutely loved the fire coming and taking the vaccines at that time.
One thing that is out there that we also wanted to mention, Wayne County, Gary works closely with Wayne County, and they've put together several economic analysis and retail studies. Those are available on their website, so I've included the link in case anyone would like to read them later date.
One of the key things that came out of this is we were one of the few communities that actually lost citizens or residences through the census. So we lost people. We went back on the census numbers, and we actually went up in the total number of retail establishments that we had in 2021.
We've really been pretty stagnant on census. I think we actually went up by about 400 or so.
Yeah, very, very small.
Yeah.
Kurt, do you want to talk about the MITC a bit?
Sure. Obviously, the MITC continues to be with us, and I'm currently serving as the chair of the MITC Authority. This, just for background, is the old Dohoko prison properties on both sides of 5 Mile in Plymouth and Northville Townships between Napier and Beck. So I serve as the chair of the MITC, which is an independent governmental entity. It was created under the Michigan Brownfield Redevelopment Act. And Supervisor Mark Abbo is the vice chair. Gary Heitman is the member rep from Plymouth Township. Joe Vig, who is a prominent developer and construction person in Northville, he is the Northville rep. And then our neutral is Glenn Cerny, who is now the president of Schoolcraft College. So it's a great team to work with, and we're very happy that Schoolcraft has agreed to continue on in that role through President Cerny. We had him on board originally when he was, I think, finance director. So this is we're glad that he's sticking with us. The MITC recently, and if Rep. Kolazar was here tonight, I know he would talk about this, so I will do it on his behalf. The MITC Authority did receive a $1 million earmark in the 2022 state budget, which took effect October 1st. That $1 million will go into the coffers of the MITC and will be used for ongoing administrative overhead and some engineering planning costs for the 5 Mile Road project. So what we will also do is we're going to reimburse, Plymouth and Northville Townships are going to be reimbursed out of this fund. So we have spent, out of our local brownfield authority, we've spent roughly $115,000 to $120,000 over the last 2 years for administrative overhead. So things like consultants, lawyers, the brownfield consultant, everything from consultants to bank fees, basically anything that we can get a charge on, we've done that. So approximately $115,000 to $120,000 will be going from the MITC to the Plymouth Township Brownfield Authority in the first quarter of next year. An identical amount, because we always split the fees with Northville Township, an identical amount will be going to Northville Township. They've been paying out of their general fund, so they are really looking forward to the reimbursement. And then going forward over the next several years, the plan is that $1 million we will tap into that for future administrative overhead costs. So as we go into the brownfield, or the MITC Authority just approved their brownfield budget for next year. So we currently have a surplus of about $400,000, but we recognize that we want to keep that money going for the future because we don't want to be coming back to the state all the time for additional overhead costs. The goal, though, because this is a brownfield authority, is that as development will increase, that a portion of that tax capture, I think it's 10% of the tax capture, the MITC Authority will get to hold on to. And that then becomes the administrative overhead. So the objective is eventually the MITC Authority is self-sustaining. The tax capture revenue goes back into addressing the environmental and development costs and road funding and things like that. And then the authority gets to keep a certain percentage for overhead. But we do appreciate the generous contribution from the state of Michigan. It's been a long time coming. We made the ask back in March of 2020, and because of COVID and all the stresses on the state budget, they were just not able to accommodate our request. So we appreciate Rep. Kolazar and Senator Polhanke for going to bat for us on this.
Is there any update on parcel 10 there?
Sure. I don't know what's next on your slide, though. I want to make sure I'm not getting ahead of myself.
No, I think it's okay to use this map.
Okay, so let me just kind of quickly go through the map here. We'll start at the east. Now, the Villages of Northville is the old Robert Scott Prison, which I transferred over to the Northville Township when I was in Lansing. That is technically not part of the MITC Authority. It is not part of the brownfield, but it is definitely part of our marketing tool to attract businesses. So what we have there now is a hotel. We've got retail over here, and then we've got housing over here. The housing is not what I envisioned for that site, but it is what it is, and that's Northville Township. So we don't tell them what to do. This area here is the old prison proper site. It is still owned. Everything here in green is up to here, but all of this in green is still owned by the Michigan Land Bank.
All right.
Okay. They hired Redico, which is a prominent development firm, to try to develop that site. There is contamination. That's the old landfill. The old landfill is actually, most of the old landfill is over here. Okay, this is a wooded area that really nobody is recommending that we develop. But there's all the other landfill debris scattered throughout the area. Some of it is clean. Some of the landfill goes down 14 feet. So it's buildable, but you just have to build caissons and pylons to hold everything up, and you're going to have to do gas control and things of that nature. A pond is envisioned for here. Parcel 13 is owned by Hillside Development. Parcel 12 is Hillside.
What is 13? Is it a speculative building or is it still vacant land?
It's destined to be a spec office building right now, but right now with COVID, office buildings are passé and.
So no construction has started?
No, they did submit some drawings about a year ago, but they could build if they wanted to, but they're just not, they don't want to make the investment at this time.
Kurt, on the prison property.
Yeah.
You said that it's buildable, but is there contamination back there that has to be remediated?
It's, the only area that's truly a no man's land would be this green part right here.
That's where
It's forested, but it is, the landfill is very deep, and I don't think it's toxic, it's not oozing anything. It's old household waste from the city of Detroit from the 1940s and 50s. That's where they dumped it. But
who would be responsible for cleaning that up?
Well, the city of Detroit created it, but the state of Michigan bought it. So it's the state of Michigan's responsibility. I mean, they can haggle over it all they want, but the state of Michigan has owned this parcel since the late 70s. Late 70s.
They're having a meeting tomorrow to discuss with Redico how much of this can really be developed. Redico's saying, we only want to do a small piece, and the state says, you got to clean it all. Let's make sure everything, as that map shows, is developable.
Well,
How did you get to it?
Pay in this agreement. How do they?
Earn their money. On this deal?
They'll lease, or they're gonna lease, all the little properties you see going across there, so they're gonna be making their money.
They're not getting a stipend from the state of Michigan.
No.
It would be nice if they did. I mean, the state of Michigan has to, there's a difference between a cleanup and making it developable. So this light green area needs to be made developable, that we still have the underground tunnels there that are filled with asbestos. They need to be demolished and buried, and anything else has to be carted away in those tunnels. And so there is remediation that has to happen here. I would love it if the state of Michigan were to use some of their $5 billion in COVID money to clean that up. So we're working with them on that. Real quick.
Supplemental for our state representative?
You never know. I think all of those decisions are being made by the executive's office right now. So, just really quick across the street, Jean Ding is a Chinese company that has a nice fancy office building there. I don't know if they've ever gotten into it yet. It's empty for the most part, right?
Doesn't look like it, yeah.
Oh, are they in there now?
No, I'm sorry, it doesn't look like they've
Yeah,
inhabited.
yeah.
They're in and that, yeah.
They're in, they're not making a big deal about it, but they certainly are not fully staffed. Area 3 is the old
Gun range.
gun range, and that's being cleaned up between Northfield Township and the EPA. 4 and 5 are just up for sale right now, as is 6. 7 and 8, my prediction is that I don't think they'll ever really be developed because they're landlocked between the creek, the residential area here, and it's a fairly wet area. These little duck tracks here, I think, represent wetlands.
Wetlands, yes.
Okay. So, and then we got the rail line there.
Drag.
Parcel 9 is probably the most developable of all of Northville's properties, and I suspect that there may be a major retailer going in over here that needs a lot of outdoor storage.
And the new DTE substation is gonna be right
The new
up there.
DTE substation will be up here, and that substation will service the entire MITC area.
When you say retailer, you mean their warehouse or their actual shopping?
Both,
They're sporting.
yes. Well, it's a retailer that needs a lot of outdoor storage, and they deal with construction a lot, so I'll leave it at that. Item 10 is still, Area 10 is still owned by the city of Detroit. However, we've been told recently that there is a developer that has signed at least a letter of intent with the city of Detroit to develop that site.
Large national developer.
Yeah.
So what does 10 do for water and sewer then? How does
Currently, there is no water and sewer
Zero.
to any place west of the creek.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So at some point,
Yeah.
somebody is going to have to extend a sewer line all the way to Napier, and then you have to build a loop, a water loop
Down, yeah.
going around here. We already have water from Halyard all the way up to the intersection here, okay? So we're very hopeful that the city of Detroit, they stand to make a lot of money on that, and we're certainly here to cooperate. Ridge 5 is Project 11. This is the site that the township formerly controlled at one point, and we have sold that to Hillside Development. Hillside has cleared everything. They've installed ponds. They've worked with the Army Corps of Engineers and Eagle to make sure that the creek is protected. And we do have a company that's more than likely going to be coming into that lot, one of these two lots here. So the first tenant will likely be World Stone, which is in Farmington Hills, and they are a company that specializes in granite countertops, tile, anything that you need for kitchens and bath that would be rock related. And so they're going to have a 30,000 square foot facility right here with both storage, a showroom, and light manufacturing. They cut the granite and they cut the stone with water, heavy-duty water saws and lasers and things like that. So that will be there.
One thing on Johnson Creek, the whole idea of this property as well as 10, where it's gonna be, there was a walkway going through there. This
Linear
past week.
park, the linear park?
Yeah, yes, going up and down that. The last week, 12 representatives from the state of Michigan went in. They were documenting everything in Johnson Creek. They were writing down how big the minnows were. They were marking how big the trees are. Very, very well documented in the past week. The state is really, really getting into preserving Johnson Creek, which is tremendous for all of us.
The Drain Commission offices for Wayne and Washtenaw County have money to clean out Johnson Creek from way up here in Oakland County, way into Salem Township. We monitor that project. We don't want it to get out of control and damage the environmental assets that are here. And there's a lot of eyes on that project right now from Plymouth Northville, from Friends of the Rouge. We have other allied environmental groups that are very actively involved in that. So
there were rumors that this was just going to be a bulldozer come in and just clean out the whole creek. Nothing could be farther from the truth on that. Is they really want to preserve the wildlife and the fish that are in Johnson Creek today.
So
What are they doing? They're just taking out the tires and the scrap, that type of thing?
no, they're actually going to be removing most of the, they're going to be widening the creek and removing a lot of the scrub brush that's on at least one side. They want to improve the flow of the water. There's too many low flow areas, too many log jams. They want to
Oh, that could be devastating.
hasten the flow. Exactly. And I'm not 100% on board with this, but they are, like I said, we've got, all the experts are pushing this, and there's a lot of folks in the public that are definitely keeping a close eye, yeah.
How deep does that creek get?
Depends on the weather. I mean, right now, I mean, maybe not today, but last time I was out there, it was, 4 inches, but sometimes it can get a lot higher, because you can see how it's been pushing the debris off to the sides and creating log jams and things like that.
And remember, north of 5 Mile on Ridge is dirt. That the street is dirt. So that whole strip in there affects that creek on the Northville side as well. So they're kind of keeping an eye on that, and that's part of the upcoming plan is to have that paved to make sure that minimizes the effect on the creek as well.
Won't that make it worse because it runs off faster?
Oh, no, they're gonna make sure that the environmental pieces, it doesn't go into the creek. So, not sure how that works, but
That's the
they've
plan.
already put the plans together.
So, you will have before this board, maybe at the next meeting, a request to create an industrial development district within parcel 11. That would allow us to provide a tax abatement for any of the businesses that settle in there. Pursuant to MITC protocol, the MITC only recommends a 12-year, I'm sorry, 6-year 50% abatement.
Which is half of what the rest of the township would get.
But we have the option to make it 12.
No, not really, not here. I mean, we
Not an MITC.
I guess under a strict reading of state law, we would, but we really, we don't want to limit the MITC's ability to capture tax revenue. That was a
What
compromise.
actually gets abated?
Real property tax.
It is real?
Personal property tax is being phased out in
Yeah.
the next
couple
couple years.
So that's why tax abatements aren't as effective as they were prior to
Right.
2015.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, but for real property though, they still carry a lot of weight. I mean, this World Stone Company is going to be asking for a tax abatement for the
So what actually
real
gets
property.
abated out of the real property? Portions, do you know?
It's the taxable value of the building as
Building.
determined by the assessor.
By the
You
assessors.
know,
And improvements to the
Entire amount.
land,
yeah.
50%.
land improvements, if you have to do
For 6 years.
grading or landscaping, that's abated.
And tax abatements themselves that was a compromise between Plymouth and Northville Township. Northville Township historically, under Supervisor Nix, was very adamantly opposed to tax abatements. So that's kind of a compromise policy that we adopted. Parcel 14 is, we think, still owned by Adient, but we understand that as of last week, there was a purchase agreement signed with a developer out of North Carolina who is looking to build at least 3, maybe 5 warehouses totaling 300,000 square feet, or am I
A little bit
lowballing it?
more there.
No, I think that's
600, 300?
At least for phase one.
Okay, so 300,000 square feet warehousing and possibly some light industrial that would be located right here. We don't think it's Amazon or any of the big guys, but right now warehousing is hot because of supply chain issues, and people are buying product, storing it. They want to store it here in North America so that it's available for any of the just-in-time industrial and manufacturing needs.
Well, warehousing traditionally is a huge traffic generator and low-skill, low-paid jobs. So traditionally, it hasn't been considered desirable. And just because there's the Amazon name on it, it doesn't mean they're changing the job description.
Well, we're not making any money off of this parcel right now, and we're not getting any jobs. So this is it's an outstanding opportunity to redevelop that site. And I'm sure Adient appreciates it as well if they're going to be selling property. Adient's had a lot of financial woes over the last several years. Despite that, they have not pulled out of Plymouth Township, and they are now updating their campus and updating their facade. And they're also building a little bit more into this area as well. We have had a commitment from Representative Stevens' office that she's looking to earmark $2 million in federal money to upgrade Ridge Road for any potential truck traffic. The biggest impediment right now is 5 Mile Road. 5 Mile is in bad condition. It's being pummeled over many years by the trash trucks that are going out here to the landfill in Salem. There's no end in sight to that. The landfill is not going away. They'll try to control odors, but they're not going to be going away anytime soon. In fact, I'm sure someday they'll be expanding.
Also, they have not been authorized to expand yet?
No. That requires the permission of the state and also Washtenaw County. So Washtenaw County is not going to care. Everybody cites landfills at the edge of your community, so you can stink up the neighbor to the east and get the tax revenue. So it's the best of both worlds. So Washtenaw County, at the end of the day, they're not going to object, and eventually it'll probably end up in court. But landfills tend to get expanded eventually. So 5 Mile, pretty much all of 5 Mile, but the further west you get, the worse it gets. But we are working right now with the state of Michigan, Wayne County Economic Development. They've assigned a consultant to work with us. We're not paying her anything. She's working on grants through the federal and through the federal government, federal transportation dollars that have nothing to do with COVID. Plus, we've got $5 billion in state COVID money, and we've got $700 million in Wayne County COVID money that can all be used for infrastructure, which would include potentially water and sewer. So we're all working together right now to figure out who's going to do what and who's going to pay for what to rebuild 5 Mile Road.
So
It's still a county road.
What does $2 million get us for Ridge Road?
I believe, is it Class A, is it considered,
Class A.
it's Class A already, which means it's suitable for truck traffic. It's just going to make it better curb and gutter improvements, probably decel lanes and things like that. So that is what the broader overview of the MITC, and I think in future slides, guys, if there's anything else I could add. John, do you have a question?
No, I'd like to add something. Because it was simultaneous with what happened in Ohio today. There's $5 or $6 billion on the table in Lansing, waiting for agreement between the governor and the state legislature. They're playing a game of passive-aggressive, or they're playing a game of, no, you go first. There's no agreement, because that could be used for water. That could be used for sewer. The $5 to $6 billion that is on the table in Lansing. Now today, he happened to be Republican, but someone I've followed, Mike DeWine of Ohio, announced his $1 billion worth of grants in H2 Ohio. They came to an agreement. And John Husted, who's a friend of mine, the lieutenant governor down there, they worked out compatible joint ventures with the state legislature, impacting water sewer and water treatment facilities in 60 out of 83 counties in Ohio. And they went around the state of Ohio. I mean, we're talking Cincinnati, Dayton, Marietta, Northeast Ohio. And it's frustrating to me, having observed what Governor Mike DeWine did in Ohio today with those joint venture agreements, and he gave credit to everybody, didn't care whether it was a Dem or a Republican state rep, state senator. And I would commend people to look to what occurred today with H2 Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine.
Okay. So this is a drawing that some of you have already seen. It's the artist rendering of the Ridge 5 Corporate Park. This is the piece that's been cleared out already now by Hillside. That's that weird corner area right here where the railroad track, and then this would be 5 Mile going that way. One feature I do like is this is a pad here for people to park or park a vehicle, and then you could walk along this boardwalk or pathway here, which eventually connects up with the creek. And then the developers have promised that they will build this at some point and then connect up with a similar path along the Johnson Creek.
So they have one parcel is sold?
We believe that they have the one parcel sold right now, that would be this one right here,
Yeah.
to the World Stone Company.
Yeah.
And then they'll be coming to us for a tax abatement. It'd be about a 30,000 square foot building, so it's a good first start.
To John's point, we basically had the 3 on the end sold. Ohio came back and offered major company a huge incentive, and they basically said, goodbye, Michigan. Michigan was not going to match, but it was the 3 on the end that were all done, so.
Those trees to the north along Ridge Road, they don't really exist.
No.
Along Ridge
It's a
Road.
flat piece of land with not a tree on it right now.
Here or here?
No, right there. Those don't exist.
Oh, there's trees there.
There's,
They don't go, I mean, it doesn't look that lush, but there's trees. Yeah, you go in there right now, yeah, there's trees over here. Okay, so, next slide. Again, this is another rendering of Ridge 5, continue. So this is VTech, which is the old prison site. The site was demolished by your friendly state representative a few years ago. And this is how it looks today. The railroad track is right here. So everything over here is the Audient property. And we obviously have some wetlands there as well, which this new developer has apparently received all of his approvals from the state, from Eagle, for that. This heavily forested area here is the major dump area that we talked about earlier. Okay.
So it was a dump and then they planted trees on top of the dump?
Yeah. So it can't be that bad, but nobody wants to build on it, you know?
Yet another cover-up.
Except the trees?
The trees are all, they'll have 2 heads and they talk at night and they throw apples at you and stuff, so. Now, this is, I don't know, are we out of MITC now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn it back to Laura and Gary.
Okay, well, this is the 5 Mile and Beck, the corner, the southeast corner, or southwest, excuse me, just east of the MITC corridor. And then just south of that on Beck, next to Buddy's, this is the home of the future Starbucks drive-through facility.
What kind of facility?
Drive-through.
Still under construction. And then going down to Haggerty Road, this is the Amazon facility, a photo taken just a week or so ago, I believe.
What portion is the addition?
In the back there.
Yeah, it was just a couple bays around the outside that were added.
So where's the perimeter? So the perimeter did not change?
Barely.
It's gone from like a 300,000 square foot building to a 330,000 square foot building.
Yeah.
And they wanted to extend this blue and white facade across the front here, and I've told them no for now. It's brick, first of all. This is all brick that really should be cleaned off. There will be Amazon, right now there are temporary signs here, but there'll be permanent signs that are really low-key, given the size of the building. But I thought that the blue and white, to continue that around the front would be kind of
They've taken a lot of
unnecessary.
the offices that were in the Spartan facility, they've basically converted those over into the warehouse space as well.
And there was a building out in front here too, right?
There was, yeah.
There was offices.
Right, yeah.
So that's
Been raised?
That's been raised, and this will all be parking and what else, Laura?
Just parking and landscaping.
And they have all of their Wayne County stormwater permits and runoff permits and everything like that. They're also working with the neighbors over here. They're going to be installing a 8-foot wall, 8-foot sound barrier wall, and then probably adjusting, they'll be working with everybody on lighting and all of that.
Can we ensure that they do it without ripping down the trees?
The trees are to remain.
They can thread it through there? Because when that building was built in the 60s, the neighbors were upset and those trees were planted for that purpose as a screen. So let's not take them
What street
down.
is that, do you know?
That's like,
That's Haggerty there.
that's his
No,
Haggerty.
Yeah.
Oh, like,
the
what is it, Jerry?
Arbor Village.
Yeah, it's
It's Southworth?
Southworth, Bruce,
Maryland.
Maryland.
yeah.
Yes, all the existing trees are to remain. They're actually going to put the fence, the wall closer south to the property, so they're not actually going to do it on the property line. Some of the residents here have actually put their fence onto the Amazon property. They've encroached. So that's just all to remain untouched, and then Amazon is going to erect their fence further south and then install even more landscaping.
So say that again, the existing fences that the residents encroached will remain encroached?
Yep, all this area to the north is going to remain as is. Amazon doesn't need it for their property, so they were fine just to install that fence further south and put some more landscaping there.
Then Gary, do you have an estimate on the jobs? I know originally they had said about 700, but I think they've scaled that back due to automation.
400 to 450 right now is the number they're looking at.
What's the pay range of the working level person?
It'll be about $18 an hour, which has caused some of the neighbors a little bit of heartache since they're looking at hiring in the 15 range. So,
You mean other businesses?
Yeah, neighboring businesses.
right.
So, the fences that encroach, they're not gonna take them down?
No.
Nope, all that's to stay.
Are they gonna take care of it legally somehow? Give them an easement or something, or just
We're
ignore it?
just leaving it.
Okay.
I guess they're not worried about adverse possession.
Apparently not.
That's unusual for a corporation.
It's a
How much-
company that doesn't matter to.
Yeah.
These
Too much money.
guys build rockets to
Yes.
space for fun, so
They
I'm
print
sure
money.
they're not worried about.
In the time we've been talking, they've made of over $1 billion.
That's true. Okay, all right, so moving on.
Right, so this is Ann Arbor Road here, and then the railroad tracks, General Drive. This is the new storage facility that's behind the existing Stow and Go. Plaza Lanes is right there.
But what happened with that? Is it expanding?
expanding.
Yes, this whole area
It's all
right here
new.
that you see is new.
Same owners.
Same owners.
And then we have the Henry Ford Health System, of course. This is a render of what the hospital facility and the outbuilding will look like when complete. And this is just a quick flyover. I don't know, Kurt, if you wanted to mention anything.
Well, we didn't do this. I think it was done by the developers. And this was taken, I want to say, maybe back in July, June, maybe July, August, sometime over the summer. So as you can see here, this was when the outbuildings are virtually complete now. And the hospital building itself, they're already starting to work on some of the facade. But building a hospital is not easy, takes a long time, and the hospital building will not be done, I don't think, until the fall of next year, or September, October of next year. The outbuildings, though, will be completed maybe by the end of this year still, and that will be a Henry Ford Optimize, a Chipotle restaurant and drive-through, and T-Mobile. Even though T-Mobile is already right a couple hundred yards away in the city, maybe they'll be moving over here as well from the city.
Maybe they have better coverage there.
Maybe, I don't know, man, but,
Higher
and so, right, you can
Yeah.
see right there in the hospital, just to the, right there, that's gonna be the entrance to the emergency room, which will be a low-level trauma room. That's the kind of place you'll go for a sports injury, dislocated shoulder, tummy ache, cuts, sprains, things like that. If you're having a major medical emergency, you'll be transported to a higher level trauma facility. The objective of the hospital is not to have any overnight guests. This will be primarily outpatient. So again, anything that you get done at an outpatient facility, I don't need to list them all, but that's where you would go for that.
But the dealer storage lot, which, is that adjoining, on Haggerty Road, does that adjoin Amazon?
Next to it.
So can you go back to the video? So currently, oh, the video died, huh? Okay. Okay, so currently, the Kolb family, the Lincoln Mercury dealer, I keep calling it Mercury, but the Lincoln dealer, Heinz Park Lincoln, they have a parking lot across the street on the
Over here.
west side of Haggerty.
Yeah.
And the Township Board gave their approval for that a couple of years ago.
Right.
And they've been storing excess inventory there. Well, as we know in the auto industry, there's no excess inventory right now. So they have made a temporary agreement with Amazon to park employees there until the Amazon parking lot is ready to go. So I think that'll be about a 2-month deal, and I'm sure Mr. Kolb is being compensated for his time.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm thinking about,
Shuttling?
longer
Maybe
term,
it's a free rocket ride.
Yeah.
Free rocket ride.
longer term, that'll probably be sold, because Ford claims that they're not going to hold very much inventory anymore. So dealer lots will not have to be as big.
Well,
Hard to
Kolb also now owns the old Saturn dealership
Yeah.
and the parking lot and that used car dealership. He has a lease agreement with them. So he owns all of that property back there. He could use that for future storage as well, or he might sell it for some other purpose. So then that's another picture of Henry Ford, more recently taken. So what is secret of Lot 20 here? Is this like Area 51 or something?
No. There are a number of other industrial properties around the township that received approval and are just finalizing their engineering right now. And one of those, this is a 5-tenant suite. It is a spec building. It's part of the Plymouth Oaks Boulevard Corporate Park off of Sheldon Road, just south of M14. So this is right on the corner by the Wayne County Pump Station.
Oh, that place.
Yep, this is it's not very industrial looking, it's more office, but it is spec and can be customized.
5 tenants?
Five potential tenants, yes.
Gary, whatever became of the Hella facility near that?
Hella?
Hella moved out,
Yeah,
They went to Northville.
so
didn't
what
they?
is in the building?
yeah.
It's a neighbor of this.
Heaven, I don't know.
What the hell happened?
I'm not sure. I can check with the building department to see who's done reoccupancy there. It's not something that I've reviewed.
It's border, you can see it right against Heinz Park. You can see it from M14, it's south of M14.
Okay.
They moved to Northville.
And this project is currently going to be before the Planning Commission at next month's meeting. This is Schoolcraft Road in Haggerty, so Wabasto is right here. This is a proposed RV storage facility with a small office building. There are 4 different lots within the Concept Drive industrial park, so that's the kind of upside down L that wraps around Burroughs from Haggerty to Plymouth Road. These 4 lots are all under contract by Hillside Development. This is one render of spec building, and here's another one. Right, then we wanted to just cover some significant reinvestment in the township, so not new construction, but smaller additions or overhauls inside. And I think it's really important to note that after those 15 months, that there has been 91 million invested, and this is 3 times as much as the township saw over the last 2 years, really. Which is incredible.
How do you calculate the 91 million? Where does it come from?
It comes from BSNA, from the building department records.
Those numbers are inputted by the owner of the
When
property.
they come in and look for permits, yeah.
So if they're looking for permits, typically they'll underestimate it.
You got
This
it.
is true,
It's
the
really bigger than
construction.
that.
Yes, this is a conservative number.
Laura and I got calls like from Tower Automotive that said, we'd like to expand, we want to stay where we're at. Come and talk to us, come and help us. And, you know, we would go out and say, these are the things you can do according to Plymouth Township ordinances. Follow these rules. And so far, everybody's been good about it.
Suburban Cadillac is one example. Although they didn't really expand in square footage, they did make a significant investment to the facade.
Beautiful.
Their
They
parking
built a
lot.
new building. I mean, it's
Beautiful.
significant.
Yeah.
Well, it's reoccupying the same footprint, right?
Okay, it's a new building, but anyway.
Burroughs, of course, has seen some improvements. Not only on the inside have they made significant renovations, but this was their parking lot expansion that was just completed to accommodate United Road, among other tenants. And that includes Rivian and its expansion and inside interior work. Is there anything you wanted to add about Rivian?
Yeah.
100 new employees are in which will be located where? This is a call center, you said?
It's a call center, but it's going to be a sophisticated engineering call center. So these guys are all experienced engineers. Was one of the main reasons that we got it here versus California. We were going back and forth with them because we had more engineers available here and we're able to do automotive. Right now, they're going to be in this building. They've made enough room for them. We were kind of hoping that the Durr building was going to be able to hold them because the company UTAC was a partner with Rivian. So that fell through. So we look for, there's enough space in the Rivian in the Burroughs building that they could actually go in there as well.
Who's calling them? Do you know? Yeah, they're calling, there's
So-
a call center with engineers.
So here's Rivion's philosophy. They're not going to have repair shops. There's not going to be dealerships right now, I don't think. Maybe, at least not in Michigan. But they're not going to have repair centers. So what they're going to do is they expect you to call this number, and then you will be referred to one of these engineers, automotive engineer experts. There's jobs out there. And great for retirees, right? Right, Gary? And then
Right the front.
you'll be making over $100,000 a year, and then these guys are going to be a concierge service, basically, and they're supposed to walk you through the process so that you can somehow fix your own car and press the right button or download the right software. And it's just not going to be somebody to refer you to somebody else. They're going to hold your hand all day and walk you through the process.
Like you two.
Hang on here, let's,
Like
Do it yourself automotive repair.
yeah.
Nothing
This,
could go wrong
My
there.
sons do that all the time.
Yeah.
this is what Tesla does. And
Are you
Rivian
sure?
is following the same pattern. I am aware of this because my brother-in-law owns 2 Teslas. He and his wife, 38-year owners of the Charlotte, North Carolina Eye Clinic, just retired and sold their business and bought 2 Teslas. But what do they do for repair work or advice? They call in. So Rivian is doing the same thing, which
Right.
is smart.
Yeah. And,
So they won't have, so these will be experienced engineers
Yeah.
that are willing to work on a help desk.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yep.
And we believe that they will be housed where in the Burroughs building? Are they going to be in the old factory part, or are they going to be in the tower?
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't
They
know.
said second floor, but we don't know yet.
Okay, I don't know of any second floors in the factory building, so hopefully they'll be in the tower.
Yeah, but the vice president of USA Engineering, housed in Farmington, Robert Stewart, what his name happens to be, frequently goes inside that Rivian building. The guy's all engineering, from automotive engineering, from A to Z.
Does he walk on water when he goes in there?
Okay, all right, we'll stay on topic here. So Signet, what's Signet?
Signet is on General Drive, and they remodeled their facility a couple years ago, but they are looking to expand into some other facilities along that corporate park.
So they bought the building, the burnt-out building right across the street from them. They bought that building with the idea that they're going to renovate. And now, what they do is clean the tops that go on the backs of trucks or on trains, the cars. They run them through and clean them. They have 3 of the 4 major contracts in the United States to do this, like with BASF. And hopefully the building across the street will be the 4 out of 4 to complete them. And I think they put about $6 million into this building. The building is amazing versus what it used to be. And the people just absolutely love being in Plymouth Township.
Yeah, they're nice to work with, for sure.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, they're very nice to work with.
They were one of the leaders of the special assessment district for
They
General
went door to
Drive.
door and
And
that
the
entire
repaving, they got
General
all the
Drive to get that
signatures
thing
and
paved.
everything.
Yeah.
Bless you.
While this hasn't come before the township for permitting yet, the Inn at St. John's is proposing a number of improvements, including a spa, a second
Nice.
a second tower, banquet facilities, and improvements to the golf course as well. So we can expect to see that.
And when we say improvements, we mean improvements to the golf course. They have assured us that they're not building homes or condos or anything like that that was proposed in the past by a previous developer. So the entire Inn at St. John's facility, except for the chapel and a couple residences in the old monastery wing, is now owned by the Pulte Family Trust. So the Pulte Family Trust, despite their background in residential construction, this is not affiliated with any of their building operations. That's what they tell me, so I got to take them at their word. But they are definitely interested in expanding the existing facility here. I think what they will start with is a proposal for the expanded banquet facility. They're also going to upgrade all of their hotel rooms, and then eventually the plan is to build this second tower on site.
So the tower, is that depiction, what they're gonna propose is they do the second tower at a 90-degree angle off of the first one? Or is that just for illustration purposes?
Yeah, there's no formal plans been submitted, but that's how it's been described.
Yeah.
It might be a little canted a little bit more in one direction.
So boutique professionals, hotel professionals, is not a Pulte family company?
No.
It's an outside manager?
Yeah, it's an independent company that is closely affiliated with the Pulte Family Trust, and basically they are managing this hotel and all of the facilities on Pulte's behalf.
Including the golf course?
Maybe not the maintenance of the golf course, but certainly reservations and oversight and stuff like that.
Adient, we spoke a little bit about earlier. They are still making improvements to the site, whether that be landscaping or one of their various entries. This is a render of some of the work that they have going on right now. EOTech is another industrial company, which I think this board is familiar with the tax abatement. This is their plan for some new signage. They're making improvements to their parking lot currently as well, looking to move in shortly.
Remind us what they produce there?
Secret.
Lasers.
Lasers for the Army,
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah,
rifles.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Their facility in Ann Arbor, they had a room this size with 200 people in it.
Oh, they make sights?
Yeah,
Gun
yeah,
sights?
That's the
Yes.
company.
Yeah, all right.
Really high-end stuff.
Very high-end, yeah.
What street are they on again?
They're right across from our DPW
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
on
yeah,
Port.
on Port Street, yeah.
Frito-Lay was approved for a 40,000 square foot building expansion. This is currently still going through the final engineering, but they've already started some groundwork.
Is that warehouse or is it manufacturing?
Distribution.
Yeah.
Phoenix Mill, of course, this project is getting closer every month. This is the rear of the building, so not what you see from Northville Road. This is the new glass enclosure, and this is from the other side. This is the patio area. They've done a fabulous job restoring the historic character of the building.
Before you do can you just explain what the plan is?
Yeah, so on the second floor here, this is the level that you see from Northville Road. This is going to be the office of Grits and Metz. They're a landscape architect company in Northville. They're going to be relocating their headquarters there. And then this bottom floor here is an event or a banquet space, smaller scale.
Changed dramatically with COVID.
So it's not a restaurant at all?
Yeah,
Correct, yes. It was originally intended that the second story be a restaurant.
right.
And this is just to say that most of this development wouldn't be possible without partnerships of the surrounding communities, the county, and the state. We work closely with these entities.
May I please ask, I have worked with them directly. Have you had meetings in person, in Lansing, with MEDC people?
Not in Lansing, but I met with them yesterday here.
You did meet with
in
them
person.
yesterday?
Yes,
Where?
here,
They came here?
yes.
They were here for the
Wonderful.
MITC meeting, so. We work with the MEDC and Wayne County Economic Development almost every day, either
Right.
through a direct phone call, meeting, Zoom meetings,
Zoom.
everything, all the time. And we're either chasing down money or we're trying to
Things like.
move permits along, approvals from other county or state agencies, happens every day.
Thank you.
So there's more.
I was one of those Republicans that would welcome MEDC.
Another aspect of economic development is quality of life. It's what attracts companies to the area. And part of that is where those corporate citizens live. So this is a listing of some of the more recent residential projects. There's, of course, some with an asterisk here that are currently under the permitting process, may or may not be approved. And these are either recently approved or may be approved in the future, but I think it's easy to look at this new development, but we can also forget kind of about the existing residents who continuously make improvements to their homes. Yeah. And in the past 15 months, I think over 14.3 million was reinvested into existing homes, whether it be a new roof or new windows. And that's extremely important in order for the the community housing stock to remain viable. One of the new residential projects that the Planning Commission will be looking at is the Courthouse Grill. So this is the former Courthouse Grill on Plymouth Road, right adjacent to Hines Park. There was a proposal for multifamily a couple years ago, which did not receive their final approvals. This is a new developer, a new multifamily concept. I think this proposal is much stronger than the previous one. The quality of these units and the amenities that it will afford its future residents is much nicer. This is just a simple building footprint. Instead of 2 buildings, they're proposing 1 larger building and to be set back from the road a bit and to take advantage of the topography. And this is just a render that they've created for their rooftop area. They'll be having conferencing space up here as well as outdoor amenities. And
Sorry, can you go back one slide?
Yeah.
So this is Plymouth Road. This is the actual courthouse over here, Cemetery Drive. It fits. It just doesn't look like it fits though, but it would fit. It does fit.
Is there underground parking?
The way that if you can tell in this render, there's 2 levels of parking, and the one level with the entrance down here, half of it is underground, while this second level is all above ground and at grade at this northern end of the property.
But there's no internal ramp, so this driveway is at a higher elevation than that driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's solar panels on the roof, and there's going to be a work area up here, a sitting area, common area. There will be a dog park and a dog wash down below here as well, because everybody's going for those 100 Rivian people who are going to be, we're making 100 grand a year. And just all the other, professionals that are flocking to the Plymouth community.
Yes, they're aiming to have 60% of their energy generated from the solar. They'll have EV charging stations, a car wash within the parking garage, dog washing station.
Gotta have a dog wash.
There's a dog washing station, yes.
Who's the developer?
It's Detroit Capital, right?
A guy by the name of Kevin Kovacevic, went to Plymouth, he says he went to Plymouth High.
He's a Plymouth resident.
Plymouth resident now, went to Plymouth High School. He's probably in his mid-40s, late 40s.
Yep, and this project, so there was the approved brownfield plan for it. With the previous development, the BRA has extended that brownfield plan until the end of next year, yes. And they are looking to go for a grant and a loan with Eagle as well, and will likely be coming before this body in the next couple months for that.
A grant?
So let me explain how that works. The state of Michigan, through the Eagle Department, Environment, Energy, Great Lakes and Environment, has a loan program for brownfield projects. So how that works is they provide the loan to the developer in this case, and then he or she uses that loan to pay down their brownfield remediation costs ahead of time. That way, it reduces the tax abatement timeline, which frankly puts more money into the township's pocket in a shorter period of time. So they're basically augmenting their brownfield redevelopment tax capture with matching it with a grant from the state of Michigan. Part of this grant, though, is that they have to the applicant, the developer, has to come to us to get our permission to be eligible for that grant. There's no guarantee they're going to get it, but they have to show community support. I guess the idea is they want to make sure that the local brownfield authority, which would be us, is aware of this grant so that there's no shady money changing going on that we would not be aware of.
So, but part of that is a loan to the developer?
Yeah, part of it is. So they'll be paying for it partially through the loan that they take out, paid for by the tax increment, and then that'll be supplemented with this grant from the state. So their costs, their redevelopment costs are gonna go down, which means they're not gonna need as much of that tax capture, which means after maybe a period of 10 or 15 years, then that tax capture reverts back to the township. So we'll get, frankly, more money off of this site.
So, Laura, they've been successful in convincing the state that this is not a toxic site. So convincing the state that debris, they'll get the loan to clean up debris that's there. Because that's what it is construction
yeah.
debris. It's not toxic.
Right.
So they've been successful in doing that?
That is something that they're gonna have to prove to the state. From my understanding, the consultant that they're working with has worked on similar projects, and she mentioned that last year she secured almost $5 million for Michigan communities in the same grant loan program, so.
Well, she's definitely worth her fee if she can do that, because that's a hell of a stretch.
So I think it's over, various communities, but.
And we have an active brownfield plan for this site as well. That's already in place, so. Okay, so that's Courthouse Grill. Okay, continue, please.
Yep, these are just some real estate figures that speak to the last 12 months. I don't know if you wanted to cover any of these.
As you can see, the average sale price of our houses are up 11%. These are as of about 2 weeks ago. Average price per square foot up 11%. Average days on the market. It's very interesting that we used to have 40 days on the market previous to COVID. Last year was 30 days. Now we're down to 22 days. So the houses are selling a lot faster than they have in many, many, many years. Right now we have 0 months available. So the houses are going up, are just selling almost immediately.
Do you know what our current commercial vacancy rate is? I know at one point it was like 2.5 vacancy. I don't know.
I think it's a little bit less than that, I think, right now.
Would be
How do you
more.
calculate
I would
that?
think it'd be, well, just vacant commercial
By
buildings
square
that are
footage?
for
Is it by
sale.
square footage?
Yeah, I don't know how they calculate that, but I think that number went up actually because of COVID, because we did have some businesses that pulled out, but not a lot, so. Okay, sorry.
I can see if assessing has any figures on
Yeah.
that.
I know the vacancy rate pre-COVID was incredibly low. Okay.
The Downtown Development Authority, of course, I think that the board heard a little bit about the budget for next year and some of those projects. One of those is the sidewalk improvement, the streetscape improvement with the CSX roadway, and some of the beautification and landscaping of this area as well. This was some of the CSX crew that the township met with earlier this year. And those plans have been submitted. It's just kind of a question of getting them through the pipeline. The Sidewalk Gap Program, the improvements that have been made on North Territorial and all the work that Spalding Decker has put towards making these improvements and bridging those gaps. I think if anything, the last 2 years have really shown us how important that connectivity and access to neighborhoods and park spaces has been. So there's still a lot of work to be done in the township to connect the neighborhoods. The residential tree planting program, this was the second year that this was done of recent, and 12 HOAs were granted trees, as well as I think 50 or so homeowners. There was the Fall Colors event with the ELC that was attended by some of the trustees.
You're on dry land.
Indeed, yes.
At least he has a paddle when he's not up
I'm
the creek
wearing,
without
I'm
a
wearing
paddle.
a life jacket too, it just doesn't fit, that's all.
On the front or the back?
And of course, public safety, this is one area that the township has continued to invest in and prioritize. If there's anything you wanted to add?
And because you guys have done that and continue to prioritize that, we hear from businesses all the time that we have one of the best police and fire in the area. It's amazing that the businesses recognize this as the citizens have already recognized it.
And I will say that most of the pre-development meetings that we have with companies when they come in, if they're looking to locate here, they're looking to expand, the fire department is usually always at the table for those conversations at the onset, because they want to make sure that the developer understands what those requirements are and expectations up front, and they're great to work with. And so by doing all these proactive measures with new development, reinvestment, and for the quality of life for existing residents and future residents, we hope that Plymouth Township remains open for business.
So since you put that back up there, come back to that. We have free time to use these billboards. Should we be using it for some of this economic development, like some, have we thought of that, or do we have it scheduled?
This is actually an example of what we did in 2019. And so this was up on the billboards on 275 and M14. I have all the contracts and legal agreements that were executed between the parties, and we're allowed a certain amount of time every year on both billboards. We did not utilize it in 2020 because of COVID. There was just nothing to promote. And then recently this year, we've started again with promoting the Fall Festival in the city, because we all benefit from that. And then we'll start up next year, reinvigorating the Plymouth Township Open for Business signs.
How many days do we have per year?
Well, it really depends on them, actually. So we have a situation where I think it's like 5 days for a certain amount of time over 5 days.
Yeah.
But if they have other surplus space, then they'll throw us up. They'll throw us up there as well, kind of as a filler. I've actually seen, we used this a couple years ago, I want to say in 2018, to promote Hilltop Golf Course. And Hilltop developed the logo, they developed all of they worked with the companies to develop this. I was seeing those signs as far out as Wall Lake, on I-96 going towards Lansing. So if they have this stuff on their computer as surplus, it's nothing for them just to put it up there. So yeah, we'll start next year with more of the economic development push, but we've been trying to promote the golf course and the Fall Fest, which was really the first community event that we've had in pre-COVID.
But one example, I want to throw this out there. In the last week, we have the old Adient building on Halyard just got purchased by an Ann Arbor company, New Step. They make equipment, athletic equipment, all kinds of stuff, mostly for people with disabilities, have an outstanding reputation, and they're coming here. And it's just tremendous news. I was very excited. They knew all about our reputation when they started asking questions, and it's very, very exciting to have them come in. They are huge, huge advocates in the Ann Arbor community today, so I suspect they're going to be the exact same here. So
they're abandoning Ann Arbor?
Yes.
And what did they say was the reason?
Taxes mostly.
Taxes, high taxes, right?
Yeah, that's the big piece, obviously, but and they like hearing good things and they like people talking about them. So
are they going to manufacture these devices in that building, or it's only a marketing and sales?
It looks like they're going to be able to manufacture in that building. It's a pretty large building on Halyard. So I suspect they're going to have a little of everything as they do in the Ann Arbor location. So.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Laura or Gary? Yes, sir.
I have a couple.
Yeah.
I want Gary, I had asked to find out, just for my own edification and delight, what goes on in these various businesses that you visited. At one time you said the state of Michigan had a log. Just when people ask me what goes on in that building, is it a sales and marketing, or is it testing? Any luck with getting that list?
It's interesting, Wayne County was trying to build that same list, obviously for the same type of a reason. So they're pushing, as well as we're pushing, to find out, get MEDC to actually make that part of their business profiles. And I don't know if we're getting any luck or not, but we continue to bring it up.
Well, you have some of that information. Could you just pass it on to us if you're keeping it?
I guess we could.
I'd appreciate it,
Okay.
because I'm always curious to what goes on in that building.
Okay,
People pass buildings for decades and they have no idea. They have
Yeah.
no natural curiosity to understand what's going on in it.
Ford Road and back.
The next one is that big elephant in the room.
Ford Road.
Our largest employer, Ford Motor Company, just announced their largest investment in the history of the company in Tennessee and Kentucky. And it used to be that people from Tennessee and Kentucky came here for work. Now our jobs are going there. Now I've heard the ruse is we don't have enough open land. Well, if you've been to Tennessee and Kentucky, you know that it's very hilly. So it costs a lot of money to prepare a site in Tennessee and Kentucky. So I don't believe that one. One I might believe is the electric rates, but what happened? We seem to have had the ball stripped from us, and we didn't even get a chance to run it. This ought to be a huge deep dive somewhere.
a major piece of that was MEDC was running without a leader. We've been waiting for the governor to announce a leader for a long, long time. She finally did that. Unfortunately, it was a little too late for Ford Motor. This was something that actually required, some personal involvement. We had no personal involvement. And, as I mentioned with the company from Ohio, Ohio throwing money at this large company, so did Tennessee and so did Kentucky. And Michigan dropped the ball. And they can say all they want to, but, I know people at Ford Motor Company, and they would be very, very happy if somebody would have talked to them about it. So, and they didn't.
So why didn't you talk to about it? You know them.
We're talking billions of
We don't have the
dollars
land.
here.
Okay, anything else for these gentlelady and men? Yes.
Right. I have two issues. First of all, thank you for your creating this position, and I see unlimited possibilities for your work to, and I'm going to highlight them in the spring. I do know the Michigan Townships Association is having a convention the end of April. It's in person, and it's in Lansing, at the Lansing Center, and they're looking for the most knowledgeable keynote speaker on community economic development. And they're also looking for an expert panel. On May 20th, I'll be hosting an economic summit luncheon at PARC in the new theater, and I have vowed that no elected official, no politician will speak that day. A bank president and a president of Interlochen will probably be the speaker. My questions are about retention and community contribution. Retention, shockwaves went through Michigan a few weeks ago. Michigan lost $6 billion worth of economic development to Kentucky and Tennessee. That's our vital heartbeat. They were prepared, they were ready, and they're welcoming them. 10,000 jobs went out the door, went south. That is a major loss. Battery companies and manufacturing companies logistically should be located next to each other. I'm surprised that you haven't been, I think of you as somebody who does a job from A to Z, but I would like to see you down in Illinois talking to the manufacturing companies of Rivian. Bring them back here to Michigan. What is being done to retain our businesses here in Plymouth Township so we don't get caught like, I lightheartedly say Father, Son, Holy Ghost and Ford Motor Company. And secondly, I would like to see you develop community contribution from these corporations. Ostensibly, I voted for the Henry Ford project on the good faith of the representations of our supervisor and the fact that Henry Ford's Wyandotte General Hospital was opened in my hometown in 1926. They are the anchor of Biddle Avenue. They are the anchor of the economic community, and they contribute hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Salvation Army, the public school systems, the private schools. I would like to see community contributions, and I voted for you, but for your talent in personality to talk to the Andrew Wolfs of the world, because they finally disclosed it publicly. The world's largest auto supplier generated $47 billion in revenue last year, and that's Bosch. So we're sitting on so many opportunities, and I would like you to respond to retention, because we don't want to get caught flat-footed again, and community contributions. I was raised in a town, the second oldest city in Wayne County. What are they doing? What are these corporations doing for my community? Now, on a lighthearted note, I do know that Beth and Steve Birmingham agree with my wife and family. They're thrilled that Chipotle and Starbucks are coming in. And they're going to hang out there because they find that just tremendous. So, but what is our community contribution to institutions like the Salvation Army? What are they doing for us to be part of our heart and soul community? Those are the issues: retention and community contribution.
Do you want to comment on that, or, I mean?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of the companies like Rivian, they want to keep their charitable contributions and things on the down low. You know, they don't shout them from the rooftops, nor does Bosch. Bosch has given us a tremendous amount in the park, in our township park. They've done a lot. They continue to do a lot. I think the biggest retention thing we could possibly do is, as you seven that sit up here, go into any of these businesses, say thank you for being here.
Thanks.
I know Bob goes into Picnic Basket and they say, Bob Dorshevitz came in and he just says thank you, you know, and here,
That was for the liquor.
That's right.
Let's not go there.
but don't downplay how important this is. It's absolutely huge. Because for many, many years, we did nothing. We didn't care about these guys. And now, you know, they've got a lot of choices.
I think what it is, John, and then we got to move on, is it's being proactive. It's working with businesses that come here. Don't turn people away. Listen to them. Try to understand what they want. Work with them. I tell this to every business. You guys have heard this speech 100 times. We're a very lean operation here. If you're a developer coming in and you want to build anything from a submarine shop to a Wabasto or a hospital, you're dealing with me, Laura, Sherry Parmelchuk in the building department, Ken McDonald, and Jeremy Schroet, our township engineer. That's pretty much it. And we're all communicating with each other constantly every day on a lot of different projects. So you get that kind of level of service. There's no bureaucracy involved. I mean, you talk to the boss almost every day if you want, and we do. And so it's a very lean operation. It's a very efficient operation. My philosophy going back to my Wayne County days was you bend but you don't break. You follow the law. You educate people on the law, the rules and procedures and ordinances, and the master plan and things like that. You know. It doesn't make headlines, but we've had to turn some prospective businesses away as well because it didn't fit in with the zoning or the master plan, or it wasn't a good fit for the community. and I don't want to get into some of that because I don't want to, but we've turned away quite a number of businesses because they would not be in conformity with the zoning and planning regulations of the township. I do want to make one more mention here, and I'll also too, John, it's also low taxes. We have the lowest taxes of any municipality in Wayne County. I think Sumter Township might be a little bit lower than us. If you want to go there, be my guest, okay? Sumter Township, I don't think still has paved roads at this point, you know? And everybody's on a septic and their drains are a mess. So it's a case of we've got low taxes, great public safety services, great economic development, building department services, and the buzz is out there. People know that, hey, you go to Plymouth Township, they're going to treat you with respect, they're going to listen to you, and they're going to work with you. And if it doesn't work out, they're going to let you know why, and they're not going to let you, hang on the vine for, 6 months while we toy with you. We want to work with you, but sometimes it's tough love to tell you that it's time to fold up and try something new. The other project that has gotten a lot of attention that unfortunately did not occur is the Myers Marketplace that was scheduled to go in next to the LA Fitness. They did pull out. The site owner, who is Mr. Harvey Weiss, said that he was told by Meyer that, quote, Plymouth Township was not urban enough for this particular project. So I don't, still trying to figure out what that means. But we do have another major national supermarket operation that is actively looking at that site right next to LA Fitness. Because I know that's an issue that you've raised in the past, John, and we want to address that. Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you very much. Anybody in the audience on economic development? Okay. Oh, sure, Steve, come on.
Once again, Stephen Birmingham, Township President. Thank you to the economic development presentation. I really learned a lot, and it seems like you guys really put in the effort to understand each of these projects. You're very knowledgeable, so I appreciate that. One thing that, and I know, Chuck, you talked about Ford, right? That's a huge thing. I don't know if that's a Plymouth Township thing. That might be a broader scope than within the confines of this meeting. But within the township scope, I know, and I encourage you to always just keep that balance of quality of life and business, and just because something can fit in there, should it fit in there? I'm sure that you do all that already, and I just would like to reinforce it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you very much.
I almost want to applaud. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
So item F4 is the authorization to issue an RFB, a request for bids for solid waste collection services. Attached, you will find the extensive request that has been worked on for the last couple months by myself and Kevin Bennett and Sarah Weissel, who is our solid waste coordinator. We've also had members of our Environmental Leadership Commission make some suggestions to the document as well. Our current contract with GFL expires in roughly September of next year, and I'd like to begin the process for a new waste hauler, begin that process now. This RFB would be put on the street next month, the month of November. Bids would be due in April of next year. That gives us plenty of time to review the bids, and I'd like to interview the prospective bidders and then award a contract sometime during the summer, giving the successful firm plenty of time to get involved in the township, or if it's the current provider, to allow them to fine-tune their proposal and their operations. I believe that the collection of solid waste and trash and recycling is probably one of the top functions of local government. The old adage is people want to have a police officer and a firefighter when they call 911, they want the trash picked up on time. And So this is one of our core functions, so we need to get it right, and we need to do it in a very transparent process. That has not always been the case in Southeast Michigan, and I don't need to get into the history of that, but we want to make sure that we take our time, that this be fully transparent, and that you have an opportunity to weigh in and ask questions. I will say that and I've kind of prepped you in the past on this, but we got to get ready that, number one, that no matter who submits, I'm sure the costs are going to go up. The cost of everything is going up in this country, gas, labor, everything, so I am sure that the prices will be higher than what we're seeing right now. I also suspect that there will be costs based on automation. So currently, we are not a fully automated trash collecting community. Our recycling is fully automated, but our regular trash is not. So don't be surprised if one or all of the bidders come in with a fully automatic proposal. So we would have a big trash can for trash and a big trash can for recycling. That, I know the board did consider that back in 2015, and that was rejected, and I'm not sure what we're going to do, and I'm not trying to steer anybody in any particular direction, but just be advised that they will more than less come at us with a more automated system, which is less labor intensive and maybe would provide a more competitive rate. So.
Yeah.
Again, I'll take any questions that you might have, or Kevin.
So what timing are we looking at here in
So-
putting out the bids?
So the bids would go out in November. We would put them on what's known as MITN, which is the Michigan Internet, something, it's an acronym, but it's basically if you have bids that you want to get out there efficiently and quickly, you put it on MITN, and then the bidders, they're all plugged into it. If something comes up that says waste removal or, trash, it'll come up on their screen, and then they can look at it and they can respond, okay?
Thank you.
So the bids shall be submitted to the Township clerk by Friday, April 22nd. There will also be a pre-bid meeting here at Township Hall on Friday, March 18th, for anybody who has any of the bidders who may have questions.
When is that again?
The pre-bid meeting is
Here it is.
Friday, March 18th. The bids are due on Friday, April 22nd. And then that would begin a process whereby the township would review the bids and do interviews. It will be a long process. I know I watched the process as a spectator back in 2015, and I know that there's a lot of involvement in that.
How many players are there in this market space?
Probably about 4 or 5. You've got GFL, Republic, Waste Management. There's also a couple other newer companies that are on the scene, kind of a conglomeration of some of the smaller waste haulers that are operating out there. But yeah, the market is definitely thinner than what it used to be. Like Duncan is gone. We used to have Duncan.
Is Rizzo still in business?
No, they're not. Rizzo was taken over by GFL.
Okay.
GFL is a Canadian-based company, and they acquired all of the Rizzo assets. Then the first scheduled curbside collection, no matter who wins, would begin on October 3rd of next year. So we would have to award a contract, though, and we would have to work with the bidders on
Prior to that.
much earlier than that. So I think we would want a contract approved and executed sometime in the summer. Because let's say we do go with a new bidder, you're looking at new recycling bins, you're looking at possibly new trash bins. They have to be acclimated with how we operate, with our collection schedules, our maps, our specific requests for things like yard waste and recycling. That all has to be, it doesn't happen overnight. You don't flick a switch. They have to learn how the township works and what our expectations are.
So a couple of details. In order for us to get a reference, all right, I can't see in here, I don't understand. I want them to quote what we have today so we have a frame of reference, exactly as what we have today as one base bid. Then after that, the creativity can come or whatever. Where in here does it tell them to, I tried to figure it out, I see the word base bid, but to replicate what we have today so we know many of our residents love what we have today. It's extremely convenient. You can put out a bag, you can put out your own trash can, you don't have to store a trash can, which was the reason that we didn't go to the 96-gallon trash can, because many people said, I don't have room to store it in my garage, it'll look ugly. Or some people who are less physically able said, I can't get that out to the end of the driveway, it's too big. So to better understand where the new bid is, we need to know what it would cost to bid what we have, and then as a base. So will we get that from this? And if not, I think we need to modify it to get that.
Some of that would be generated at the pre-bid meeting, and they certainly can ask us those questions as well as they're assembling their bid materials, but most of that.
We're gonna ask them.
Yeah, but most of that information, though, they're gonna glean from, and they have to process all of the addenda pages. So that would be like the pricing descriptions, which is part of the bid form, that starts on packet page 60, and it continues.
But Kurt, it doesn't actually say, we want this number.
Well, because that's kind of a empty request. I mean, it's what the market's gonna bear.
Well, no, what if we wanted to replicate it?
What they're going to show you is, if you want to continue doing what we're doing now.
We'd like to know how much that costs.
They'll
do that in here?
And then they'll tell you what it costs to do, some communities do curbside recycling, I understand, or yard waste like twice a week. Some communities like Canton now, they've moved all of their yard waste, I think, to Saturday, or temporarily they did. They moved all of their yard waste.
Yeah, so those are the creative things that we would look for.
And that will all come out in their bids. They know what we're charging right now. It's a public document. It's gonna go up. I mean, we're not gonna be ever paying the same amount, but what they're gonna do is say, here's plan A, which is your current plan.
It's our base.
Plan B, yeah, your current plan. Here's plan B if you go to more automation. Here's plan C if you want to do more yard waste pickup or extend your yard waste. Our yard waste now is extended into January. And I'm thinking right now, with the way the leaves aren't falling because of the wet season we've had, I don't know when the leaves are going to finally fall. We may have to extend that again.
So it's like a cafeteria plan.
Yeah, I mean, and these guys bid on, they know what they're doing, and they're going to give you they know.
Well, it can't be a cafeteria plan, it's a system.
And they know.
It's not à la carte.
But you add on because then what would make it different from today, or what they're doing?
But what they're going to quote us is a system, because they have to collect all on one day, is what we're telling them in here. But maybe they'll have the license to do, for example, large appliances. Maybe you would only do that once a month or once a quarter. So there's so many permutations and ideas.
And that's why it's a long process.
So you think we're gonna get the base level of where we are today then? Because I wanna know, what would it cost to replicate our service today? Because we're gonna have to explain to residents when we make a change that they don't like, we're going to have to say, this is what we have today. To replicate it, it's going to cost you $30 a month or whatever, versus the current 15. So we're looking for ways to reduce that, and it may require automation or fewer pickups of unusual garbage like couches and things like that to once a quarter, once a month. Right now, it's once a week.
Exactly.
Because I know people are going to say, I love what I have now. Because it's great. It's really the easiest garbage collection that most people are aware of anywhere in Southeast Michigan.
For the residents.
Yeah, for the residents.
Right.
It may not be so easy for the operator.
Right.
And we will get all that information. This is a very extensive bid documents that they have to comply with. Okay, any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? I need a motion.
Mr. Supervisor?
Oh, wait a minute, Mr. Zantop, you have something to say on this item? Yes. Okay, you have 3 minutes.
got to keep in mind that this is not Rizzo. I know there's a lot of resentment towards Rizzo. And I was extremely happy, and I've talked to a lot of my neighbors until this COVID came up. And I think we need to we shouldn't hold it against our current operator because they were unable to perform. That there's a lot of businesses that are still having problems. So I don't think we should hold that against them. And like I say, I and my neighbors, I've talked to them, they were extremely happy with the service we had. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So, but we don't have an option to extend GFL, correct?
But we think we should bid.
Well, we need to bid this out. I mean,
been 7 years.
I suppose our contract would allow for that, but our contract doesn't even comply with our own ordinance. Our ordinance only specifies a 5-year contract, and this is 7 years.
Well, what if he might have a good idea. What happens if you can get a better deal by extending?
Find that out by,
You find that out through the bid process. I mean, GFL is certainly welcome to bid on
Yeah,
this.
I mean, that's actually my question,
Yeah.
you know?
No, but I'm
I'm-
talking about negotiating with them directly.
I'm not in favor of doing that. This is one of the most significant elements of local government service, and I think we should
Well,
bid it
nobody's
out.
arguing with that. I'm just wondering if, because I'm really worried about the price of recycling is gonna skyrocket.
oh yeah.
I mean, skyrocket. We're not talking, $5 a month. We're talking significant dollars.
Okay. Need a
Well,
motion?
his point, let's talk about that, because there's a risk that if you open up for bid, we're gonna do that, but if it turns out that you can get a better deal with the current supplier, then you would not accept the bids that are substantially higher.
But you would have done that in the first place anyway. If you open up the bids and they're the lowest bid and give us the kind of service that we want for our residents, you would do that anyway.
No, well, what happens is in supply chain management, typically the incumbent supplier has an advantage.
An edge.
An edge, and they want to keep the business, retain the business, so they may be more willing to provide a more competitive, i.e. lower price, than being flung out there as a market test, because that's what we're doing here, is a market test.
Right, except for the fact that we will never know that there couldn't be a lower bidder out there if we never have the bids from any other
Oh,
company.
no, you do both. You do both. You
Well,
seek
that's what he
bids,
was
but you
talking
negotiate. No, you do a parallel thing. It's done in industrial supply all the time, with the incumbent having the edge and they want to retain it. But anyway.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk?
I move that the Board of Trustees authorize the Township Supervisor to advertise for bids for a vendor for solid waste collection services pursuant to the attached request for bids.
Motion's made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Monahan. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Item 5 is a request to authorize American Rescue Act funding for non-public safety employees. The attached memo actually was an earlier version, and we gave you a more updated version tonight.
What is different?
The term premium pay is what is recommended by our Labor Council, as there is no provisions for either a bonus or premium pay in the collective bargaining agreements, which means it would not be applicable, it would not be, could not be used for their retirement benefits. We do have to pay for FICA, and that has been budgeted in this request.
When you say we have to pay, it's coming from the township?
No.
Or we're allocating the
Rescue.
Rescue Act money? Okay.
Exactly. We're using the Rescue Act money, we're taking the Rescue Act money to serve for the FICA. That's a $3,099 expenditure. And all of this is coming out of the ARPA grant.
And you have a commitment that this will not be part of the defined contribution calculation?
It is not. It is not, because there's nothing in the collective bargaining agreements for either the police, fire, or non-emergency personnel that provides for bonuses or premium pay or anything like that. Collective bargaining agreements, by their nature, apply to everybody equally. So there's no provisions for bonuses or performance pay, because that would go against the grain of what a union contract is. So it's
Well,
not
with
in
the
there.
police and fire,
They
their
didn't
defined
put it.
contribution, no defined benefit,
Yeah.
it got calculated into that.
No, it did not, no,
did
because
not.
there's no provision in their contract that
For
provides
this.
for bonuses or premium pay,
Okay.
so.
So you're going to ensure that the software adjustment in the payroll will not put the 15% defined contribution on this?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Now, what about the email I wrote about me thinking that the federal government was
Yeah.
making it contingent upon vaccination?
No, that's, we've checked with our HR consultant, and there's no provision like that. I have not heard of any provision like
All
that.
right, so good. We
and-
don't have to worry about that. If we get,
And-
if they come and ask us, if they want to take it back, they being the feds, will we recapture it from the employees?
I don't plan on enforcing the vaccination mandate.
No, but they might. I'm talking about the
Well,
feds.
then
They'll have to fight us.
we'll be in court then.
Yeah, then
We-
there's a
We may be in
states
court
issue.
anyway at that point.
Because it's their money we're distributing, the
Yeah.
federal government.
I have not heard of any.
All right.
It's actually
I have not heard of
So we
any-
don't have to worry about
I
it.
have not heard of any vaccination mandate
Sorry,
whatsoever.
Okay. Ready for a motion?
I'm ready for, anybody in the audience on this one? No, we need a motion. Now, remember, John, the word, in lieu of the word bonus, we're using the term
He's using this one.
premium pay.
Read the new one.
Yeah,
The new
read
one.
the new one.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm just, the screen isn't showing the old one, so.
I hate to be read to, so I'll read myself. Proposed motion, I move that the Board of Trustees hereby authorize Resolution 2021-10-26-XX to amend the fiscal 2021 budget and recognize $43,599 of the American Rescue Plan Act Grant Award as revenue to authorize the awarding of monetary premium pay under the ARPA grant of 2021 pursuant to the terms and conditions listed in the resolution, and to further authorize the finance director to appropriate $43,599 from the Township's 2021 ARPA grant for the expenditure in the 285 ARPA fund wages and FICA account in the total amount of $43,599 associated with this premium pay where applicable.
Thank you, and that's Resolution 2021-10-26-68.
Yes, 68,
So that
yes.
was, that's a Scribner's error, so don't worry about that, John.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion made by trustee Stewart, seconded by trustee Monahan. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Supervisor Heising.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I probably should have mentioned this too, but this bonus does not apply to any of us up here. Some people,
Now you tell us.
some electeds have tried that with disastrous results, so. Okay, public comment limited to 3 minutes on any subject. Hearing none. All right, we're going to move on to board comments. I'm going to go last, just with a agenda update. So, Bob, you want to go first?
No.
Okay, John Stewart?
None.
Okay, Jerry?
None.
Awesome. Audrey?
Yeah, I just quickly wanted, I know they're not here now, but I wanted to say, great job that Gary and Laura did. And they should be commended for the presentation that they put on here tonight, as well as, putting us even further on the map for the businesses that are existing and those that potentially would like to come to our community. So thank you.
Yes, indeed.
I have 2 items. One simple, one not simple. One for the police department. Highly tinted side glass, front side glass, that blocks the driver is a safety issue. I'd like to see the police department try some selective enforcement on that. I know it's challenging, but people that are doing this, you cannot get eye contact with them in a situation where you're making left turns or stop signs, so it's very dangerous. So let's work on that, and if you can't work on it, come back and tell us why, and if you're successful, tell us why you're great, please.
Okay.
Next item is, I know we're reluctant to talk about our IT security. I know we had some survey done. I want to hear, we don't have to do it, if we have to do it in a closed session or we have to do it by individual email, I'd like some reassurance that the survey is done and that we have implemented something to reduce our risk of ransomware, which is skyrocketing. Not ransomware, just ransom. And protecting our files. I want to hear more about it, other than just it's being done.
Yeah.
You get what you inspect.
We can
typically.
arrange that, maybe a small group meeting. I know Bob has been very helpful with his IT background and working with Bob Jenks, our IT director. I know, I've seen emails going back between the two of you, and I know Mark Clinton was involved in that as well. So we could arrange something, maybe with Bob and yourself and Bob Jenks in person, and
great.
kind of resolve it that way.
We should.
And do it without compromising the Open Meetings Act or anything like that. Okay. So we have 3 meetings left this year. And our next meeting is going to be November 9th. So we have some easement approvals. We're going to approve the final budget, the general fund budget. We'll approve the water and sewer budget, the other various minor budgets like DDA, BRA, transportation. All of those budgets will be on the agenda for November 9th. We have a cross-connection control contract that we have to approve. Most importantly, on November 9th, we're going to interview with the firms for auditing services. We don't know who we're going to hire yet, but Plant Moran did not submit a bid. So we're going to have a new auditor. So whoever we hire, they have to get started much earlier than we anticipated. And they're going to have to get on the ground as soon as possible. So what I'd like to do is I think we're going to go and interview 3 firms. The 4 firms submitted, but 3 firms will interview. The one firm I'm not impressed with, although I will talk to Ginger more about that one. So at least interview 3 firms that night. We're going to give them 20 minutes. We will have all of their background information ahead of time, so we have to do our homework and read everything over. And then we'll conduct interviews. Then, on November 16th...
Wait, excuse me on that. So that's November 9th?
Yeah.
So when can we get the materials? Can we get them?
We'll get them to you as soon as we
Real
can.
soon.
Jerry's, I think, already made a request.
I'm going to request for them we've got them in hard copy. I've asked for them to be.
Electronic?
Yeah, electronic, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So we can come and pick up hard copy now?
No, we only have, I think, 3.
3 copies, yeah.
Oh,
I have one, Mark has one,
I
and
have
Ginger,
one.
or you have one,
Yeah.
Ginger.
And
Mark.
Ginger and I, yeah.
so they are, but if I want to look at it in your office. I
Yeah,
Sure, you can come and see
absolutely.
it,
Come
absolutely.
stop by anytime.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at mine. I've kind of looked mine over already, so I could just bring mine back downstairs
Okay.
to you guys. So November 16th, very important. We're going to have a special meeting, okay? And you can still participate via Zoom, through a speakerphone through the end of the calendar year if you can't make it. And you
It's only one item on November 16th?
I wish, and it's not. And it's gonna stink, and I wish it wasn't this way. So we have to approve the audit firm contract. Then we're gonna have to establish an industrial development district for Ridge 5. I talked about that tonight. We have to do a tax abatement the same night, a tax abatement request. We have to act on it. I'm not saying how to vote yes or no. We have to do a tax abatement request that night for this World Stone company that we talked about. That's gonna go into Ridge 5.
So we're creating the district and doing
Yes,
tax
and
abatement
you
on the
can do
same
both,
night?
and you can do both in the same night. We're probably going to do the courthouse grill loan approval that we talked about with the DEQ. Again, it's just.
That's just a resolution saying you support the project?
Exactly. It's just we're aware that they're applying.
All right,
and
so
we're
there's
aware
no
that they
loan
might get it.
document that we have to.
No,
No.
we're not obligating ourselves in any way. That could even be a consent
Big
calendar item.
agenda.
Yeah, I know. I'm really sorry. Seriously. And then we have to go into closed session on a lawsuit. And if you can't participate, we
November
can still have you in on speakerphone, even on a closed session.
Yes.
The closed session is just more of an update. I don't believe they're looking for this is an MMRMA matter. I don't think.
Current lawsuit?
Yeah,
Yes, we've talked about it.
we've talked about
All
it.
right.
So, and I can tell you more later. But
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that, an observation, if you are gonna participate remotely, you gotta do it in such a way that, your spouse can't overhear the conversation or things like that.
Okay.
I mean,
So, Or your cat jumps up on the table, it happened to me a
Well,
couple times.
Cat's not gonna tell anyone.
All right,
Okay, Boots is out of the house.
Boots is out of the house, we're gonna get Boots out of the house.
John's spouse looks at his email, so it doesn't matter.
All right, everybody, be nice, be nice. Okay, so.
I'm very happy to stipulate to my spouse.
Just, all right, everybody be nice. So we have a closed session that night. And look, I wanted November 16th to be a 15-minute flash and dash, but it's just not working out that way. So I'm sorry, but we got a lot of important stuff to do and very little time to do it. Then on December 14th, we will meet again. Right now, it's kind of hard to say. I would like to review our goals list, though, for 2021. Just review it. I don't want to set goals for 22, but at least review the goals list. And then we may have some other items that night as well.
I think we're going to have, on the 9th, aren't we going to have some budget adjustments?
Yeah, we've got, I have various budget amendments.
For 2020?
For 2021, yeah.
21, yeah.
Ginger just needs to do some
Housekeeping.
look back housekeeping on a few things.
You're gonna have an important update from the state representative, because we're going into an election year.
I don't know.
And he's gonna be on hunting break.
I don't think he hunts. I know I
Well,
didn't.
but the state legislature
Yeah.
goes on
Oh, I know.
hunting break.
But-
November 9th is gonna be a midnight
But
meeting.
we got a lot of work to do, so I mean, he could also come
Take
back.
a nap.
That's the last chance he has, because they go on a hunting break.
Take your nappy.
He can come back in January as well.
Yeah, he sure can.
So I need a motion to adjourn.
Better take your nappy
So
for
moved.
November 9th.
Motion made by John Stewart, seconded by,
Me.
by Audrey Monahan.
Hi, me.
All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.